Hi, my name is April Hutchins, and this is my reading project. It is titled Why Fit In When You Were Born to Stand Out. And I did my project on a third grader who is 9 years old. She's in general education classes for all subject areas except math and reading, which she comes into the resource room. She's with one student who has a learning disability in math, and then she also works with another deaf student who's in second grade. For reading, she's by herself. It's just one-on-one with me and the student. Her language level, she reads at a 1.8 grade level due to her comprehension and vocabulary. She can word call very well, but she does not comprehend her readings. She was tested on the computer with a program called STARS, and this tells us where her reading level is for comprehension. She does not sign at all. She is an oral speaker. However, she is in the process of learning sign. Her mom disagreed to it when she was younger, but now she is okay with it. Her speech is, she does have a speech impairment, and she does go to see a speech language pathologist. She prefers to speak in English, but like I said, she is trying to learn sign language. She's very interested in learning it, and we are in the process of teaching her. The student has no modifications because she is learning all the same curriculum and is held to the same standards as the rest of the third grade graders. However, she has some accommodations such as preferred seating, amplification, gain her attention before instruction, and testing in a small group with the test read to her an extended time. First is the summary of my assessments that I administered, and the 4 I administered were vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, and phonological awareness. For vocabulary, I did a Peabody Picture Vocabulary Test, also known as PPVT. It's the 4th edition. This test measures understanding of the spoken word in standard American English and assesses vocabulary acquisition. The student had a raw score of 76, a standard score of 56, and she was in the percentile range of 0.2. And her age equivalency of what she performed was equivalent to a 4-year-old and 8-month-old. She was marked with extremely low score. Her phonological awareness, I used the sight words from the basic reading inventory booklet. I had the student read the word list given to her and graded how many she read correctly out of 20. I started with grade 1 and used 2 different forms, Form A and Form C. On Form A, she received a 19 out of 20. On Form C, she received an 18 out of 20. They were both at independent level. Therefore, I went up to grade 2. On Form A, she received 20 out of 20, and Form C, she received 19 out of 20. They were also both at independent levels, so therefore I went up another grade to grade 3, which was on her grade level. And on Form A, she received a 15 out of 20, which is instructional and frustrational level. On Form C, she received a 17 out of 20, which was instructional level. Since she was at an instructional frustrational level of Form A, I stopped, but on Form C, I went up to grade 4. Until she reached instructional and frustrational level, in which she did on grade 4, which she received a 15 out of 20, so I stopped. I used these assessments to teach phonetic sounds and the ending of words. In the text comprehension, I used the reading passages and comprehension questions from the basic reading inventory booklet. While the student read the passage, I recorded her word recognition and words read correctly per minute. And I started with grade 1, and she missed 4 comprehension questions, which gave her independent instructional level. Her word recognition was at an independent instructional level. She read 88 words per minute. Then I gave her another form, which was grade 2. She missed 4.5 questions out of 10, which made her at an instructional and frustrational level. And her word recognition was independent instructional level with 82 words read per minute. So I did stop at that point. Then I assessed her in the fluency, which I used a fluency skills checklist to assess my student with different fluency skills, um, such as she met the following: read with a good pace, she paused at a comma and period, and she grouped words together in meaningful phrases. She did not meet to the fluency skills of raising or lowering her voice to show emotion, emphasizing important words or phrases by changing the tone of her voice. She did not raise her voice for questions. She did not read exclamations with emphasis, and she did not read dialogue as if people were talking. My objectives for vocabulary were the student will expressively identify the meanings of vocabulary words across 2 out of 3 trials. Phonological awareness, the student will expressively identify words with the endings NT, which means not, like didn't or don't, ED, S, LY, and ING of 15 or more out of 20 of the words. In the text comprehension, I did given a passage on her reading level, the student will expressly answer WH questions about the story with 70% accuracy. And also, the student will identify 8 out of 10 narrative elements across 2 out of 4 trials. The fluency objective, I used the student will role shift 4 or more times while reading dialogue across 2 out of 4 trials. The vocabulary and comprehension was very important because when I did read her IEP, those were her main goals, were vocabulary and comprehension. I expressed a lot on vocabulary and expression, but phonological awareness and fluency, I got those from the test that I assessed with her. I picked the role shifting because she does want to learn sign language, and I thought that would be appropriate for her. This is, as you can see, my pre-test data, and the total score of all 4 of those assessments was combined at a 50% for her pre-test data. We do want her at a 70%, so we are working on that. Okay. My overall unit theme was why try to fit in when you were born to stand out. I do have some Common Core GPS standards listed. However, you usually always teach more, but these are the main ones that I hit. This is my brainstorming map for vocabulary. I used a checklist, and she got a 0% for her pre-assessment. For phonological awareness, we did reading. She read a book, and I used the checklist, and she got a 55%. And for text comprehension, I used a graphic organizer, and she got a 90% on her pre-test assessment, and I thought that was really well. Her fluency was marked at she did 3 times role shifting out of the whole story, which is not the greatest, but it was brand new to her. This is my lesson number 1. I use my objectives of given a passage on her reading level, a student will expressively answer WH questions about the story with 70% accuracy, and the student will identify 8 out of 10 narrative elements across 2 out of 4 trials. I used a graphic organizer, and while she read, I asked her a ton of questions, and I just kind of monitored that one. But I used the graphic organizer to assess her narrative elements. She mastered the narrative elements with a 90%, which was great. We have been using those multiple times. She did not like the questions I asked while we were reading. She does not like reading, so it was really hard to keep her attention. I did not use any technology, and I videotaped this lesson to self-assess myself and the student. And This is my visual graphic organizer, um, and it has the basic of setting, where, when, the major and minor characters, the problem, three events, and then leading up to the outcome. She did very well in that. It was a graphic organizer, so I told her she did not have to write in complete sentences. But next time, I think I would make her write in complete sentences, because she was supposed to, or she is trying to work on writing too. So it will be in complete sentences. That's what I will do next time. This is my lesson plan 2. We worked on vocabulary, and her objective was the student will expressively identify the meanings of 3 vocabulary words across 2 out of 3 trials. I used a checklist to assess, and I taught this we discussed each vocabulary word, and we talked about it, and we did real life situations, and we acted some of them out when we could. At the end of the lesson, she met the standard, which was awesome, because she got 0% on the test data, or the pre-assessment. On the post-assessment, she mastered it, and she got 100% in. So she did very well with that. And then we were supposed to use a smart board, but it was not working, so we used a poster size paper and marker. I also videotaped this lesson, and it went very well. She really liked getting up and acting the vocabulary words out. She likes being involved like that, and she thought it was really funny when I did it, so I would definitely use more of that. And then this is my graphic organizer of the one of the vocabulary questions or vocabulary words we did. It was the word loyal, and she had to write a person, 4 people, or someone or something that was loyal to her, and write why she did it, and she did very well with that, and we hung it up, and she thought it was great. Then my lesson plan 3, the objective was the student will expressively identify the meanings of 3 vocabulary words across 2 out of 3 trials, which is the same one as before, except we used 3 different vocabulary words. I also used a checklist for this as well again, and we just, like the lesson plan 2, we did the same thing. We discussed that vocabulary words, talked about them, did real life situations, and then we tried to act them out when we could. She loved that. And then based on the post-assessment, she did very well with the vocabulary words, and she met the standard. We did not use any technology. I videotaped this lesson as well, to assess and to evaluate myself and the student. Like I said, she really liked the hands-on and the acting them out. It's hard to keep her attention, so I think acting it out really helped with that. This is my pre-assessment and post-assessment for lesson plan 3. As you can see, the pre-assessment, she did not know what murmured, recited, or sensitive meant, but by the post-assessment at the end of the lesson, she gave me the meaning of the words for all of them, and she got 100%, so that was wonderful. And this is my lesson plan 4. The objectives were the student will expressively identify the ending sound words with nt, ed, ing, ly, and s with 80% across 2 out of 3 trials. And the student will role shift 4 or more times while reading dialogue across 2 out of 4 trials. When on my assessment I presented the student with words from the book that had those ending sounds, and she had to correctly pronounce the words saying the ending sounds. I used a checklist for that. I monitored with a checklist with the role shifting while she read as well. I taught this lesson I taught the objectives by I presented the student examples of role shifting while we read, and explained it, why it can be important, how it related to sign language, and she thought it was very interesting, but it was very hard for her. She needed a lot more practice. Then I had the student read the book, and whenever she got to a word with those endings, and she did not pronounce them correctly, we stopped and talked about it, and then I had her read a list to me, which you will see in a minute what list it was, and we talked about those two. I also used visual phonics with her, which is for NT we did N and T, and then for ED we did D, D. But you only hear the D, D sound, but there are two letters that make the D, D sound at the end of the word. ING we use ng, and then we did L, I. But we also had to talk about how visual phonics, you see a certain letter in sign letter, but the ly does not have an li, it's ly. But to help us pronounce it, we do l, I, or l, I, and it helped, and I think this really helped her. And that's also, visual phonics is very new to her too, but we are working on it, and she's doing a pretty good job with it. And S is S, and this is a way to help her pronounce those words, and then also see the sounds of the words that she's supposed to pronounce at the end of the words. She leaves them off a lot. So, and then here, the data I collected, she did not meet her standard. However, I was very pleased with what she did with phonological awareness. She scored a 75%. She started with a 55% on the pre-assessment, and on the post-assessment it was a 75%, and it was very good. Like I said, it was very new to her, and we didn't have a whole lot of time, so I'd really like to go back and do that again. But for fluency, she presented role shifting 3 times while reading the dialogue, and it was quite a long book, or a long story, and I don't think she did very well on that, but we'll work more on that because it's all new to her, and we're still practicing it. And it was brand new to her when we presented it. So, but the more we learn sign language and the more we teach her sign language, the more she'll grasp that concept. There was no technology used, and based on assessments, I thought all of it went well. I wish I had more time with her to work with her, but due to CRCTs, they had to start reviewing, so I didn't have a whole lot of time with her. So I know I would also like to go back and explain the meanings of the ending sounds of those words using ing, s, ed, ly, and the nt at the end of don't or doesn't, because I don't know if she really understood that it changed the meaning of the words, and that was really important for her to understand that. So I'd really like to go back and work on that a lot more. And then here's my graphic organizer, or not my graphic, my pre-test and my post-test, and it also presents the 20 words that I had her read to me. She does struggle with the nt at the end of didn't or doesn't, and that completely changes the meaning of the word. I think she kind of understood that, but she didn't understand that completely, and she didn't really comprehend when you put it into context. And when she read those words, it didn't really kind of go together. So we also broke the words into parts and explained that you have to pronounce the entire word. So basically kind of did syllables in this lesson as well. I didn't have that written in my lesson plan, but I added that in while I was teaching to her, and I think that kind of helped a little bit to see the segments of the words. This is my post-test rubric, and as you could tell from before, she scored a 50, and now she's at a 88% with all 4 of the reading assessments I did for vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, phonological awareness. She is at 88%, so I was really pleased with that. So she did learn from this, and that was wonderful, and I'm very happy about that. And as a reflection, I learned that I did the project wrong, but I did end up getting all the vocabulary, comprehension, fluency, phonological awareness in my lesson plans. I did the first 3 lesson plans of vocabulary and comprehension, and the last one on phonological awareness and fluency. I didn't know I was doing it wrong until the end, so I couldn't change it, but I continued going on because she still was getting the concept, and um, I eventually figured out how to add up the phonological awareness and fluency into my lesson, so that worked out okay. Um, However, I learned new ways to assess students on vocabulary comprehension, fluency, and phonological awareness. I really liked administering the assessments because it gave me a overview on what level my student is at, and it told me a lot, and I can see myself using them in the future. They were great ways to collect data from the student, and they were very easy to do, and it didn't take a whole lot of time, and you could base your lessons off those. And obviously I didn't get that and understand that through my project, but it was a great way after I understood it, it makes complete sense now, and I would definitely use those in the future, and it really helped me understand where my student was at and what level and how to teach her um, the material. I also learned that I need to use more technology and keep doing hands-on activities because it kept her engaged. If she doesn't want to do something, she definitely makes it known, and she was very distracted easily. So it taught me to use more resources and make it more engaging for the student to help her learn. Um, the assessments turned out better than I anticipated, and that was very rewarding. Um, what the student learned new vocabulary words to use in everyday life, her writing, her reading. She learned the importance in reading with enthusiasm and making it come alive in her head, um, because I kind of tried to act things out for her to give her a better understanding, and I think that helped a lot. She learned different signs because she's in the process of learning sign language, so we did learn different signs, and she was very happy about that. She was introduced to separating words and syllables and pronouncing all the sounds, especially the ending sounds, which we were working on. However, I think she could use more work on this. Um, like I said, I did the project wrong, so I got the very end of it was phonological awareness and fluency. So I'm going to make sure that, to proceed with that because she could have used more work on that. Um, but I did. Her main struggles were vocabulary and comprehension from due to her IEP. So I did cover her IEP goals, which was very rewarding for me. But for the project's sake, I didn't do it correctly. But I'm glad I got the phonological awareness and fluency involved in it as well. But I believe I covered this pretty well um, for what I have done. Her assessments show that she has met the standards, and she did very well with that. And what I might do differently next time, well, next time I'll do the project correctly and make sure I'm doing it correctly. But with the lessons, I would be sure to make it a little more entertaining for any student really. I would like to act out the readings and take roles. Maybe I could do a role and she could do a role. I think that would really help her understand that. I also would like to teach her role shifting way before the we do reading, because I think it could have helped her throughout every single reading that we have done. Um, Also, I would like to give her an actual assessment at the end of the book to see how much she really understood. I was going to do it, but I didn't have enough time, so I just kept moving forward. I would also like to have taught the meaning of the words before the readings and explain it to her. It is of the words with the endings. I mean, um, like lying and int for not at the end of the word, and s. And I wish I would have taught that before too as well, because maybe it would have helped her reading, and make sure she reads those words and understand the meaning of those words. And but overall, I thought it went really well. Of course, there's always more to add or take out of your lessons. It's always a learning process for the student and for the teacher. But as long as she's learning, that's all you can really ask for. If she's not learning anything, then you have to take steps forward. But she did take out a lot, and You know, we added her vocabulary words to her word wall, and we referred to them a lot. And I think she really did learn a lot. And according to my data, which showed that she scored a 50% on the pre-assessment and an 88% on the post-assessment. So I was really happy with that. And as long as she's learning, that's all you can ask for. And that is the end of my project. Thank you.